All right. Hi, everybody. Here we are. I am so excited to see you tonight. Welcome back to the Black Carnivore live stream. And we've got a lot to talk about tonight. So let's just dive right in. So everybody who is here, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can get notification every time we go live or put up a video. And let's start chatting. So Arien, how you doing? What's happened this week?
Not much. Just been living regular life. Had some interesting conversations, but overall, pretty normal.
Interesting conversations is always good. I'd like to hear that.
I think they'll come up looking at the topic of today's show.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, before we dive into today's topic, first of all, I want to know, anybody here, are you on Clubhouse? This is like a new app. Everybody's talking about it. And it is an audio platform. So it's kind of like, I don't know, talk radio, but people can kind of come in and out of these rooms to have conversation and, and chat and get to know each other and learn from other people. So let me know if you're on Clubhouse. Like, type it in the chat. I definitely want to hear about that. Are you on it, Arien?
No, I don't have an iPhone, so. It's apparently exclusive to iOS, so I've been thinking of trying to find ways that I could get into it. I think I would need to emulate an iPhone somehow on my computer, and I don't know how much work that takes.
I saw 2 videos today about people doing that, so I think it is possible, but I'm not sure. And then if you have like an iPad or any kind of, Apple device, you might be able to get it on that.
I have, I think, an old iPhone 5C. I doubt that'll even run Clubhouse, and that's it.
Yeah, you might need a newer operating system.
Right.
Okay. Well, anybody who does, definitely get on there. So on Tuesday night, I did a room, keto, carnivore, sugar-free, which one is right for you? So my cousin and I hosted it, and we had a ton of people kind of come in and out. We had doctors there, and we had some really interesting conversations. So I definitely encourage you. We're going to do it again next Tuesday, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to do it again. So if you are on Clubhouse, I encourage you to come and check out the room. It was definitely a different set of people. The thing I like about Clubhouse is, I don't know, it feels more adult than some of the other social media platforms. And it's kind of like LinkedIn, but more fun, if that makes any sense.
How is it like LinkedIn?
It's more professional. I think people use it in a more professional sense. I mean, there's definitely, some dating and sex and, that kind of stuff. But there's also how to use podcasting to promote your business. How do you increase sales? That kind of stuff as well.
Okay. So
yeah,
there's other things to do on there than just goof off or laugh at some funny meme.
Oh, God. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know. Well, you can't really laugh at funny memes because it's all audio.
Right.
Yeah.
That probably keeps it from being, I think the visual stuff ends up being so much more silly a lot of times.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's there's, it's not really a music thing, although, I don't know, maybe people will bring music to the platform, but it really is, just a lot of talking and conversations. So it's fun. It was interesting. I definitely enjoyed the experience. So we're going to definitely do it again. And it's funny, my cousin is not really into social media. She's kind of doing it kicking and screaming. And I was like, you got to get on Clubhouse. You got to get on Clubhouse. So she finally gets on, and then she totally dives in. So all day, every day I get pinged by her. Hey, I'm in this room. You should come in this room. Hey, come in this room. Yeah, so she's like become a master of this social media platform. And she's like, come on, Ada, you got to get your bio together. What are you doing? Come on, you're missing an opportunity here. So, yeah. So I finally got my act together, and we hosted a room together. So that was really cool.
So you pushed her into it, and now she's pushing you to be better at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So you see how that goes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, hey, we've got a bunch of people here. Mr. Gavel, welcome. Glad to see you. Monica, Tina, great to see you. So I'm glad you all are here. The other thing that I wanted to mention tonight, so I don't know if you all saw that I posted earlier today. I got a whole bunch of fat trimming. So thank you, Esther. Thank you. I really appreciate it. They came, they were fine.
Nice.
So I fried some up this morning, and I made meatballs and, fried beef fat trimmings. And so I took a picture, I posted it on Instagram, and then just as I went to start eating, I don't know what happened, but somehow I hit the bowl and I ended up spilling half of it on the floor. I was so upset. Yeah.
Damn.
I think my dog put a spell on me because I wasn't planning on sharing any of it with her. But then she got half. Yeah. So, oh my God, it was so good. But it was so good. But what I'm now producing all of this tallow, because it renders out a lot. Not as much as suet, but still, it renders out a lot. And so I'm kind of like, what am I going to do with this? So I decided I'm going to make some soap. And so, Arien, I definitely would like to hear, your best tips, best practices on how to do that. Please let me know. I'm going to record it when I do it this weekend. So, I will put up a video. Whatever happens, however it works out, I will put up a video. But, yeah, what do I do?
All right. So
what do I need to buy? It probably is. So if it takes 2 days for something to come from Amazon, I'm going to need to order it tonight. So do I need to order a mold, or what do I put the soap in?
Yeah, you need a mold. You can be lazy about it like I am and just use one of those like silicone ice cube molds, the kind that you can push the ice out of the mold. So
I have
use
some of
that.
those. I have some ice cube trays.
Yeah, but they've got to be the soft kind. They can't be rigid.
It's silicone on the bottom, but it's sort of rigid on the top.
I don't think that will work. I'm not sure.
Okay.
What's my phone doing? Sorry. Yeah. So I think it needs to be soft the whole way around to get the soap out.
Okay. I also have like a muffin tin, but that's it's probably a weird shape for a soap.
Actually, you know what though? I feel like that probably would work. I feel like all of those would work. It just may be harder to get the soap out.
Well, it's a silicone muffin tin, but it's extra large, so I think it would make, soap like this size round, and then like maybe this deep. I mean, that's a bar
Yeah.
soap.
That seems fine.
Okay.
I feel like most people use silicone, so I just assumed that was what you had to use. But we've been making soap before then, so before we had soft silicone stuff. So yeah, hard ones are probably fine too. So yeah, I use my ice cube trays, and you have to have lye. You just need any.
And I can buy lye at a regular hardware store. Like if I go to Home Depot, it's there. Okay.
Yep. And that. Oh, and if you're gonna scent it, then like some essential oil.
No, I'm not gonna scent it.
Oh right, yeah, because salicylates. So you'll probably you mix you're gonna go to a calculator site. I think I use like SoapCalc or soapcalculator.net, something like that. Soapcalc.net is what I use, and you put in the amount of fat that you're using. It tells you how much water and how much lye. You're gonna mix the water and the lye first. You're gonna have all your water, and you're gonna pour the lye in slowly and be mixing it around as you do that. It's going to turn white. It's going to get hot. Um, you're going to mix it until it stops being white and it's clear again. And meanwhile, your fat is melting. You want that fat to be around, I think, 100 degrees. And you mix those together, the lye water mixture into the melted fat, and then you're going to use your immersion blender and basically just keep blending it until it starts to get thick and like puddingy a little bit, like a runny pudding.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put it into the molds.
So it's really pretty quick then.
No, because that mixing process can take a while. So the first time I did it, it mixed really fast. It mixed in like less than 5 minutes. The second time I did it, I don't know, I can't remember what I did different. I think I may have used a little more water. Oh, you know what? I had the temperature lower, so the water wasn't cooking out fast enough. So it took a lot longer. It took maybe like 20 minutes or a half hour.
Of constant immersion blending?
Yeah.
Wow.
So eventually, like I got tired of it and I turned the heat up, and then it went a whole lot faster, and it was
Okay.
getting close to done. And so I could actually, so for me, I'm using essential oil. So once it's at the point of getting to that puddingy texture, then I pour in the oil.
Mm-hmm.
And the site, that calculator will actually tell you how much oil to use, but measuring essential oil is kind of hard because some of it's going to stick to the container that you're using, and it's only a small amount, and essential oil is really expensive. So instead of measuring it, I'd rather just pour it in and decide when it smells good, like when I think there's enough.
So
But
lye will burn you, right?
yes, yes, it
Did
can.
you wear gloves or?
The first time I did, I was super careful. I
Uh-huh.
um, like it was warm when I did it, but I went and put on like a old like long sleeve shirt, like all the way up to here. I had rubber gloves because it's the pandemic, so I've got rubber gloves just at the ready. Um, I think I took out my contacts and I put glasses on. Like I was
Okay.
very careful. Second
Okay.
time, none of that. I'm
Okay.
just there in whatever clothes I had on. I didn't change my glasses or nothing, but I did mix like I was like holding it like away from myself in
Uh-huh.
mixing so that if an explosion came up, I wouldn't be anywhere near the mushroom cloud.
Mushroom cloud.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, okay. So, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm definitely gonna do this. So I'll have to make sure to measure the temperature, keep it at the right temperature.
Right. But I think
Um,
if you go higher, it doesn't seem to be a problem.
well, did you have it on the stovetop? How did you keep it at a specific temperature?
So it was on the stove in a little like 2 quart saucepan, and
I mean, did you have a double
I
boiler or did you have it right on the flame?
right on the flame. And I just
Oh.
kept it. I mean, I don't have a gas stove; it's electric, so it's pretty easy to, once I have a pretty lowish temperature, to keep it there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it did take forever, so I had to like the temperature that melted all the fat ended up being way higher than 100. It was like 130 or something, so I had to like take it off that eye, put it onto a different one that wasn't on at all. Try to let it cool some. It's still taking too long, so I just had to wait and wait for it to get 100. And then come to find out, so the first time I did it, I wasn't paying attention to temperature at all because
Uh-huh.
the instructions that I used didn't say anything about temperature. So I don't know if those instructions changed or I
Mm-hmm.
accidentally went to a new site this time. This one that I used this time said
Mm-hmm.
100 degrees. So I'm keeping them at 100 degrees or keeping the fat at 100 degrees. And that's when it took way longer to
Mm-hmm.
get to that pudding consistency, which there's a word for that, but I can't remember what it's called now. Um,
Hi, Igma.
so
We have a new
I
person from
had
Brazil.
oh really?
Yeah,
Good
cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
So like I had my like quick read thermometer and I'd pop it
Mm-hmm.
into the fat every like 5 minutes, like hoping it finally got down to the right temperature, all for, just to
Right.
find out that that temperature was way lower than what I wanted, and it made the soak process take a lot longer.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you all of these details again, but everybody get excited and be excited to see my homemade tallow soap. I assume you strained the tallow beforehand, so there was no bits and pieces of beef or
Yeah.
bacon or whatever in it. Okay. All right, cool. So everybody, look forward. I'm going to tell you about it next week. It's going to go well because I have all of this tallow, and I know that I can't eat it all. I know it is edible, but I just don't like liquid fat. I just don't.
I
And
thought you did like liver.
I don't. I mean, it's not that
What?
it's not that I can't eat it. It's just I don't enjoy it. Like if you give me that or a crispy piece of fat, I'm always gonna go for the crispy piece of fat. I'm always talking about crispy things, Arien. I
Oh
like
yeah,
crispy.
yeah. Yeah, but I
So
also know you to be the person that like ends up with multiple spoonfuls of liquid fat at the bottom of a bowl and happily eats them.
well, yeah, of course, but there's way more than that being produced here. Like I can't, the stuff that comes with that it gets rendered out of the piece of meat that I'm actually cooking, I can have. But the amount that's rendered out of this fat that I'm cooking is just, I'm not going to be able to keep up with eating that.
Mm.
So, yeah, so I got to come up with something to do with it.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Gavel's looking forward to the
Okay.
video. Awesome. All right, well, let's dive right into talking about red meat. So, how many people here? I hope you all had an opportunity to watch the interview that we did on Tuesday with Diana Rogers, who is the author of The Sacred Cow. Did you have an opportunity to see it or read the book?
N- No, I didn't get to see it yet, and I've been wanting to read that book. It's on my list.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
think I watched her
really,
do an interview with somebody.
yeah.
Can't remember who.
Yeah. Well, I actually highly recommend the book. She and Rob Wolf also, I guess, was a co-author. They really did a fantastic job of, really citing the research about red meat and really making an incredible argument about, about the importance of red meat, not only as a nutrient dense food item for us, but also its place in, our whole ecosystem, its place in supporting the environment and building up soil health. They make a great argument for why you can't expect to have, good soil and good environmental health without animals, existing
Mm.
and operating on the land. So it really answers a lot of questions, like when vegans argue with you about eating meat and what it does to the environment. It really does give you a lot of answers for the arguments that are made, and it's based on really solid science. And there's a lot of citations there, so you can always go and go back to the scientific sources and really get some answers.
Okay. So it's a lot about how animal agriculture, or not animal agriculture, but just animals, period, are required for a healthy environment.
Well, particularly specifically cattle, but yeah, animals in general.
Okay.
So one of the things, I had learned about it, was that as cattle walk around, they aerate the ground so that so that more things can grow and live in it. And I also learned that so birds, specifically, I think, I want to say meadowlarks, make their nests in the hoof prints of cattle that have like gone through a field and then moved on somewhere else. So as the cattle
Wow.
go, yeah. So as the cattle go, so do the birds. And in fact, this is why the Audubon Society has become, really a big part of the regenerative farming movement, because, with cattle not being out there, in, you know, in these fields and basically doing what cattle do, the meadowlark population has dropped by 50%. Yeah. And so, but that just goes to show that, you know, there's a lot of animals like that work together symbiotically, and you remove one and it has a big impact on all of the others. So that was something I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So I had watched a different interview where someone had talked about running regenerative farms where the cows were grazing under solar panels, and it was all sponsored by the same Audubon Society, because the solar panels are just out there and they just need a field, and that field can't really be used for much else. But the Audubon Society had come in and said, well, we can make this good for the environment. We'll put the cows here. The cows will help build an ecosystem back here where there previously was none. And the guy said the same thing you're saying, that like they're seeing species of birds that people hadn't seen in years in that area.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then those birds, so at least with the meadowlarks, they're actually building their nests where the cows had stepped before. So like those like divots in the ground, they're using that to build nests.
Yeah. I know, right? That's huge. I thought birds only made nests in, you know, high up places, but I guess they make them in lots of places. I don't know.
I didn't want to say that, but I thought it too.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just a city girl. I'm just a city girl. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And one of the other things that Diana said, especially in the interview, was that, you know, there was a study, I guess this was in Africa, in school kids, and they were looking at kids who ate meat, and then another population that that were substituted dairy with, instead of meat, they had dairy, and then another population that just were given extra calories, but not dairy, or even meat. And in fact, the kids with the meat did best, and then the extra calories, and the kids with the dairy did worse. And, you know, I think she was saying it was because dairy also can inhibit iron uptake. And so when you're not eating meat and you're having dairy, you're inhibiting the iron. So the kids with more calories just coming from sugar did better, because they're not having that inhibition happening there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she have any theories for why dairy would inhibit iron uptake?
No, we didn't talk about that. But I think that's a known thing. I know when I was having my trouble with anemia, you know, my doctor, you know, said, I think not to have eggs, tea, and tea has tannins in it, which can inhibit it. And there was actually a bunch of things, a bunch of different vegetables that inhibit your ability to absorb iron. So she gave me a list, which was like 2 pages long, of the things that you can't eat. And I was like, so I should just eat a burger, and then 2 hours later I can eat other things?
That sounds like it.
Yeah. Mr. Gavel says dairy, herbal tea, green tea, and sugar can block iron. Yeah.
Really? I did not know any of those things.
I know. And so we get terrible, terrible advice about iron. And, you know, at the time that I was going through this trouble, you know, I was having excessive bleeding. And so I was very, very, very anemic. And to the point where, you know, I might have needed to get a transfusion. And so, you know, my doctor was like, you got to take iron pills, and, you know, you got to eat liver. And she just gave me a sheet of paper with a whole bunch of instructions. But when I looked on the instructions, it was like all the things that you normally get told: eat spinach, eat this, eat that. You know, the sheet of paper was saying, don't do any of that. That's all a waste of time, and it's going to block your ability. Here's what you need to do. And so I had to find iron pills that were made from heme iron, which is only made from animal meat. or animal, protein. You cannot get the kind of iron that you need from plants. And most iron pills, when you buy them in the store, are made from iron from plants. So that, not only does it not provide you what it needs, but it blocks your ability to absorb the iron. So, yeah, it's doubly problematic. And, and more or less the doctor was like, you need to drink blood, eat meat. Like, that's it. It's the only way to do this.
Drink blood.
Yeah. Drink blood.
Just become a vampire and you'll solve everything.
Yeah. So Mr. Gavel says, and wine. Yeah, alcohol also blocks it. Chase says cheese is out of the question. I'm pretty sure cheese was a problem.
Here you go, Chase.
Yep.
I feel like Chase is
Chase is always looking for cheese, but it's a problem.
It's always cheese, and there's always like something that you want to eat that you're finding out like, oh wait, I can't do this either. Like no, sorry, none of those things. If you want to be optimally healthy,
yeah. I know. Cheese is one of those things, though. Like, I see these pictures on Instagram, and some people make these, like, cheesy, gorgeous, beefy, fatty concoctions that I'm like, oh, if it were another lifetime, I would be, like, naked and rolling around in this and eating. But I know I can't have it. But sometimes these things look so good. Yeah. Oh, well.
Like every once in a while I'll have a little bit and it tastes good, but I'm pretty it's mostly cheese is like sugar. I get triggered into cheese. Like I see it somewhere and then I go, oh, I want some cheese now. I wasn't thinking about cheese before then. I don't wake up on random days wanting cheese.
Yeah. I did. It's more like when I'm looking at it that it's, like, oh, but if I'm not looking at it, I'm not thinking about it.
Right. But, that's what I mean. Like, it's like something outside of you that made you say, oh yeah, cheese. Right.
It didn't pop up organically. And like Broken Prophet, he's often here in the chat. I talked to him recently, and when I first met him, when I first like came across some of his videos on YouTube, he when he would speak, he would cough a lot, and I could hear it in his voice, and I was like, if he could just go carnivore and get off the dairy, that would solve everything. And then yeah, but I didn't ever know how to bring this stuff up to people. Like, hey, you don't know me, but you can solve your asthma, and I can help you, show you how. But one day, yeah, right. So, but one day he's like, okay, I'm doing a 30-day challenge, and I'm gonna lose weight and like get healthy and do all this stuff. So I'm doing vegan only and raw vegan and only vegetables. Yeah. So a couple days, yeah. So a couple of days later, I saw he put up a post that said, so, for all my vegans out there, how do you manage this gas? And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I was like, now's the time. I'm gonna find a way to slip in and give some info. And so when I brought it up to him, he was kind of like, oh, well, okay. And like he ran with it, loved it. And then I was like, but I really think you should give up dairy. And he was like, oh, no, but cheese. And I was like, I think that you'll find. So I think he kind of pushed back. He kept up the dairy, but then I think he let it go. And like his asthma is like almost gone. So it's like, wow. Yeah. It's a bummer. We all like cheese, but it is a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, and now you guys have me reading about like dairy, oxalates, polyphenols. That's why tea is bad, and apparently chocolate too. All these things that are blocking iron intake. God, why does no one talk about this? How am I
Yeah.
just now finding this out? How am I today years old finding out that all these things block iron?
Well, I don't know that blocking iron is necessarily a problem for most people. Now, for half the population who are women who are of menstruating age, it often is a big problem for us, and many of us are suffer from anemia. So, so for a big portion of the population, that is a big problem. And then we're also being instructed to be, vegan and low fat and eat chicken and fish. And so we're eating things that are not only do they not provide the iron we need, but also are blocking the absorption of the iron that we're taking in. So, I've definitely had people with menstrual problems, talking to me and saying, oh, you shouldn't eat this and that. And I'm like, you are doing all of the wrong things to deal with your anemia. And, and it sucks. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but it's like, you feel like you weigh 1,000 pounds. Like, it's really hard to move. Like, you just don't have the energy to move. So it's a big deal being anemic. And it also impacts, like, I was having asthma problems at the same time as I was having the severe anemia. So I was having a lot of trouble breathing because anemia means you don't have enough red blood cells going around. And then on top of that, I was having trouble, inhaling. So I was not getting enough oxygen to all the parts of my body. So it was a major problem. I mean, it was not a small problem. So, and so that's why I think when I first did the carnivore and I was just eating ground beef and butter, I mean, it was literally like a breath of fresh air. Like I could finally breathe. I had energy and it was transformative for me. And so I think I was getting more iron. But for some people, they have too much iron. Like I saw Mr. Gavel wrote earlier that he has the problem of too much iron, so he has to give blood. There are some people, who do have that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't know why we're getting like bad information about how you get iron or why.
Yeah, and one of the main ways we're told to get iron, especially as kids, is eat this cereal that's fortified in iron. But one, it's
Mm-hmm.
cereal, so it's made out of a grain, which is going to contain a phytate or something, or yeah, a phytate, and that's going to inhibit iron absorption. It says this site I'm looking at, healthyliving.az central. I don't know if it's reputable or not, but anyway, it says 65% reduction by phytates, which are in cereals and
Mm-hmm.
whole grains. And
Yeah.
then you're going to eat that with milk, which is also going
Yeah.
to inhibit the absorption.
Yeah. Yeah. So cooking with a cast iron pan can help because that's also iron.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think you need to cook something acidic with it because that helps release that vitamin C. I mean the vitamin C helps release some of that iron.
Okay.
So like with tomato sauce or peppers or something like that. But you're going to get the biggest bump from, eating liver basically.
Okay. So yeah, Abigail, your labs 3 months ago showed you were anemic, and you were told it was from having your daughter, and you're here drinking raw milk kefir for the natural folic acid, and meanwhile it's contributing to your iron deficiency. Um,
Yeah.
just eat some meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a big slab of beef, put it on a plate, eat it.
Yeah. But as Mr. Gavel said, for men, often the problem is having too much iron. And so getting, rid of it is more important.
What's stopping us from getting rid of iron? How
You're
did we
not
get
giving
too
birth or
much?
bleeding every month.
Wait.
That's it.
Well, but no, there has to be more to it than that. Because I feel like there are probably a bunch of men who don't have the problem of too much iron, and
Um,
we're not menstruating. So,
you're not getting into enough fights.
oh, so well, no, I'm saying like we're supposedly healthy. So either we're not healthy, and there's just an unseen epidemic of men who have too much iron, or there has to be more to it than just not menstruating?
I don't know. The olden days, life was a lot more violent. You probably bled a lot more.
No,
I'm
this
not
is
kidding.
not science. There has to
I'm
be
not
more
kidding.
than
I'm not kidding. Like, we live in one of the safest and least violent times in all of human history. You would have been knifed, beaten, maced, clubbed.
I don't believe that that's what life used to be for every man.
Okay. I just saw a notification. Cicely Tyson just passed away.
Oh, yeah, I caught that on Instagram. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, RIP. That sucks.
How old was she? She was in her 90s, right?
Let's see. Actually, yeah. Am I right to say that sucks? 96. Yeah. That's a pretty full life.
All right, Cicely. And she looked young for so long.
Even like recently in the past like few years, she did not look her age at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. What I'm aiming for, the Cicely Tyson look. And living to 100.
Right.
Yeah.
96, healthy, good looking, hell yeah.
Mr. Gallo says, we're too soft and need to fight and bleed more. Great. I totally agree.
Well, y'all go on ahead with that. Somehow I'm not getting in fights. I'm a grown man. I don't get in fights anymore. That's my kid stuff. And I don't seem to have too much iron. I don't know.
I don't know. No, I think there's a genetic thing. I remember Ivor Cummings talking about it. He's the that engineer from Ireland who's right. into low carb, and there's a genetic variation where some people have that tendency to have too much iron. So usually that's something you would know about. So you wouldn't in your 40s suddenly discover that. And those people are instructed to give blood more often. Or get into more fights.
I want a doctor to say, have you thought about boxing?
I love that.
Getting really popular.
Yeah.
I think you should try it.
Yeah.
And don't just go to practice. You need to actually fight. You have to get in fights. I need you to get into these amateur, they have fights in, hotel room or hotel ballrooms. They'll rent out a ballroom and have amateur MMA fights and stuff. I want doctors telling people to do that.
Wow. Is that wow?
Is that legal? I'm not sure.
I was gonna say, the hotels are oh, okay, yeah. Fight each other to death in our conference room D.
It's not to death, but I do wonder how much the hotel knows that this is happening before it happens.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. So, yeah, that's something to know. But Abigail, definitely, if you're concerned about getting more iron, I would definitely be eating your liver and not eating all the other stuff, not the dairy, not the cereals, or any of the grains, and not the alcohol, not the tea or coffee. Well, I think coffee might be okay, but not the tea and not the sugar.
No, coffee's bad too.
Okay. There you go.
So another reason to keep with
beef and water.
Coffee.
Beef and water. So for tonight's conversation, our love of red meat, steak. I set up the thumbnail for Arien to be looking lovingly at that piece of steak, and I feel the same way. I do. And I've spoken to a lot of people, recently reaching out to me on Instagram and stuff like that, who are getting started with carnivore. And it still amazes me how many people want to start by eating chicken all day. And they don't feel good. They just don't feel good. And it's really important to get that red meat in. Now, it doesn't have to be beef. It can be goat. It can be lamb. It can be... I think it can even be deer, a bison, but it's got to be ruminant animal. There is a very big difference. Now, I've definitely heard that some carnivores say that getting by on pork alone is fine. you know, I haven't done well with that, but other people maybe. I'd love to hear if anybody feels like they've done well with that.
I've done it for a few days at a time, and as long as I'm getting enough fat from the pork, I'm okay. I haven't done it for like weeks or anything, but I feel like pork would be more fine because it's an animal that is a. I think they're ruminants. I thought there were two
They're
kinds of
not
ruminants.
ruminants. Oh.
I thought like there's the kind with the multiple stomachs, and then there's the animals that have one long digestive system. Or
Hmm.
I could have sworn because like who else are gorillas are ruminants, but they're not ruminants like cows. Or no, I'm sorry. Ruminant is different. I'm thinking of the fact that they ferment the food in some way.
Well, so
I'm
I mean,
confused. Just move on.
pigs are a monogastric animal, so they have one stomach, and they're like us in the way they process food, and the fat that they make is different than what cows make, and that's a big part of what makes the meat different. So they have more monosaturated fat, and they and there's something different about the fat. It's not the quality is very different. So
Mhm.
I don't know.
That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
I thought that fresh pork was fine for me, and that it's really like, bacon and cured pork products that were a problem. But I went through a phase of eating a lot of fresh pork because it is delicious, and for about a week or two, maybe it was 2 weeks, and that was absolutely a problem for me in the end. So I will eat pork, fresh pork again, but it is not, I cannot make it a daily or, a regular, feature of my diet. But there are people who seem to say they do it and they seem fine. So, that's a question. You kind of have to see. But saturated fat is what we run best on. And so you
Yes.
want to make sure you get access to that, and you're going to get less of it in pigs. So Monica writes, what was it she said about pigs roaming the city back in the day? So yeah, in the conversation with
Oh,
Diana, she just left that gem, and I was just like, oh, so grossed out. Because I was asking, how did pigs get this reputation of being like so dirty and disgusting and unclean animals to eat? Because not only, do we have that now, but, in Judaism, and I guess in Islam, right, they also want to eat halal meat and meat that's killed in a certain way. And so there are these prohibitions against having pigs, but I never really
mhm.
understood what the problem was. And so Diana, I mean, she was just guessing that perhaps this was it. And I was like, yeah, that does it for me.
But those
Pigs can,
religions predated cities, and
yeah, but I don't think they predated that method of feeding pigs. I mean, if pigs can get by on eating human waste, which is what she said, then people have been feeding them that for since time immemorial. Because why
I
wouldn't
feel
you?
like that is a huge mental leap that you need evidence to make.
I think there's probably evidence there. I mean, we just have not looked into that. But if pigs can get along just fine eating human waste, people have been feeding them that forever. Because if you're taking care of animals, why, and you have food available for them that they can eat and thrive on, why wouldn't you feed that instead of going out and looking for food for them? But in any event, the point was that she was saying that pigs eat human waste, and so that a lot of cities had these wild pigs in the cities just to consume the waste that was being produced by the human beings living there. And so that was like stunning and new information to me. So gross.
Quite
and
gross.
yeah, and it was like, yeah, okay, I can see how they got that reputation, and yeah, I'm feeling like I don't really want to eat. I don't really want to eat pigs anymore. And so we are not saying that is what they're living on now. That is not true. If you go to a Smithfield Farms, factory, I'm sure that's not what's happening there. But, I've now inextricably linked human waste and pigs in my mind. And, there you go. So, but
you can't tell everybody everything. And this is exactly why. You tell 8A one thing and she runs with it. Now all pigs are eating crap. Pigs eat crap. It's a part of their DNA. It's what they do, and don't want no more pigs.
Yeah. Yeah. So Glenda says Charles Washington does a lot of pork. Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of. Thank you for reminding me. He says he eats a lot of pork and does just fine with it and has no problem. So it is possible. I would presume that there are people who do well on mostly pork. I don't, but there may be other people who do. So.
Yeah, and I was completely wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. Ruminants mean you are fermenting the food inside your stomach. You have a multi-chambered stomach, and one of those is a rumen, where I think that's where the food is fermented. So yeah, pigs are not ruminants.
Yeah.
Don't know why I thought that.
So Buffalo Bill says traditional societies have always cured pork meat. There's, humans have been looking for ways to save meat for forever. So yeah, we've always had some kind of jerky process or air dried or curing or smoking or salting, to preserve meat. So, that's one way. Mr. Gavel says pigs will eat anything. Yeah. Monica looked it up. What Diana had said. It was pretty stunning. But, so I do think it's interesting, though, when you have these religions having these, rules around food. And in some cases, it always makes me wonder, where does this really come from? Because if it's hard to get food, why would you have additional rules about what you can and can't eat?
The theory is... for a lot of that stuff is that at that time, those foods were not safe. They were not safe things to eat. So the religion had the rule against them because people were getting sick from eating those foods, or they were dying from those foods. And even now, like, you can have rare beef. You can't have rare pork. Pork is still dangerous in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so that's interesting. But, we don't have these same precautions against fish. And fish is far more, iffy. Like, if it's not kept really cold.
Well, maybe,
I would eat days-old beef, but fish is...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because maybe no one was trying to eat old fish. Like, you knew to eat it, and you knew that you had to eat it, like, the day you caught it.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So Katura says her family doesn't eat pork or shellfish due to religion, but doesn't know the backstory. So.
Yeah, like that would be there's got to be like anthropology out there that has connected the religious belief to what was happening in society at that time when that religion was coming up, or when that belief became a part of that religion. Because we think of religions as this thing that has existed in the state that it's in now throughout all of history, but really that's not true. They've all been evolving throughout time.
But as long as, we've been human, I mean, we've been eating and we've been figuring out how to preserve meat. So I feel like, I don't know. The idea that pork was unsafe, I mean, we would have either worked it out or, just started eating something else. So I don't know.
I don't think so. Like, pork is still unsafe now. Like, my first time having bad food poisoning was from pork that I got at a restaurant. Somebody fed me a pork chop and they just cooked it. They didn't ask me how I wanted it done. And I was at dinner with a bunch of people who were, we'll say, much lighter than me. And they said, "Oh, no, it's fine. At a good restaurant, you can have pork and it's okay for it to be pink." And I'm like, no, pork's not supposed to come that way. I've had pork a ton of times. My mom cooks pork chops all the time. Never had pork that was this color. And they said, "No, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead." And I ate it and I was sick for the whole rest of the weekend. That was a Friday night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like,
I thought you meant slimmer than you, but now I get it.
oh, no, they were white. Let's just go ahead and tell the truth. They were white.
Yeah.
And I think that, and oh, no. We are not pig bashing, or at least I'm not. 8A might be. But
I'm not pig bashing. Not at all.
me and swine get along fine, but I cook it. I cook it for real. But for some reason, I think the fact that we have to make sure that we cook pork well done, but we don't have to do that for beef, I think tells me that somehow there's something biologically about pork that is it's inherently more dangerous than red meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the shapers of the religions just said, you know what? I'm not about to make religious laws about how to cook the pork. I'm just going to say no pork.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to get involved in all that detail. No pork. Right. No pork.
It's like,
yeah. And I see.
I'm tired of trying to tell y'all to cook it all the way. Just don't have it at all.
And I see TRCA says, if the universe put pork there, does not mean it was there to eat human waste. Religion is to control people. Yeah, I don't think that pigs are here to eat human waste. That's how we chose to try to use them. And yeah, so yeah. Let's see. Countries such as Spain eat mostly pork. These societies had to survive as the land isn't green enough for most part for cows to pasture on. And Spain is the longest life expectancy in the world. Yeah, I actually don't know what the expectancy is. But yeah, I mean, for sure, there are absolutely societies that ate tons of pork. So that's not to say, I'm not saying that, we're not able to eat pork. Whether you thrive or not on it, you really have to see. I have come to see that it does not work for me. And there are some studies to show that some people have stronger reactions to pork. Like it actually does make changes in your body. So some people really don't do that well on it, but I guess you would really have to see for yourself. But yeah, I notice a difference in my just everything, my energy, my inflammation, everything when I'm eating a lot of pork. Now, before I would eat some pork, so periodically I would have fresh pork and that seemed to be okay. But when I was eating it every meal, every day for, like up to 2 weeks, that was a problem. But large picture, I'm not pig bashing, not. But it was stunning to hear that information, not information I knew before, and it's unappealing information.
I can imagine.
Mr. Gavel says my vegan cousin's argument for not eating pork is that because they don't sweat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like people just make up things after the fact.
They do. They do.
Oh, they don't sweat. That's why I don't eat pigs. Like,
yeah.
Are we certain that all the other animals sweat?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Buffalo says they cure pork in lots of different ways. Well, for sure, like curing meat is I mean, that's, one of the prime ways that we've had to preserve meat. So, yeah, there are long traditions of smoking, curing, making, salamis, salting as a way to preserve meat. So, and particularly preserving pork. So, those are good options. Let's see. Couture is having pork chops for dinner.
Nice.
Awesome. And Abigail is saying it comes from the Levitical laws in the Bible where God instructed the Israelites what to eat after Exodus from Egypt. I grew up in a religious home that didn't eat quote unquote unclean animals.
Based on
these laws. Yeah. So, yeah. And Hadia is a Muslim carnivore, so no swine for her. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. I like talking to people who it's already a part of their culture to eat a red meat. So like we don't have to fight over, all right, now I'm not eating chicken all the time, or if you're eating chicken all the time, I'm going to advise you to find some red meat that you like. And like when they think of meat, they think of chicken and fish. I'm like,
yeah,
those will work, I guess, but they're not going to satisfy you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely I've had people approaching me, eating chicken and turkey and fish, and it's just like, it's just not going to work. It's not, people just don't seem to feel that great on that. So,
yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, it's tough. They're in that like, oh, well, saturated fat. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
Now I gotta re-educate you on saturated fat before we can even have the rest of this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Perhaps we should, talk about, maybe we should have like a whole show on saturated fat, but that's what we run best on. And when you're in ketosis, that's like the very best fuel for us to run on. Now, if you're not in ketosis, then perhaps, saturated fat is a problem, but, it's the carbs that are the problem, and you got to get those out.
Right.
Yeah. Lies, A-Day, all lies. Yeah, the saturated fat, all the lies that we've been told about it. Mr. Gavel looks at chicken, fish, pork, and eggs as a side dish. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Now, some would argue they make eggs like a whole, the whole kit and caboodle. I do like eggs, and I will have, eggs for breakfast, but I do like to have my steak or meatballs next to them. I'm not really, it would be a rare occasion that I'm just having eggs for breakfast.
Oh, no. I've been doing eggs and bacon like every day for the past like 2 weeks. And the eggs are great. I would never do them separate though. Or just like a plate of eggs by itself would probably be like 6 or 8 eggs. And I don't eat that many eggs at once.
I know. There's something about it too. Like it's hard for me even to eat more than 2 eggs because it's not that I don't have the appetite for it, but it's like mentally, it's like 2 eggs. That's what an adult woman eats. 2 eggs, not 3. If you're still hungry, eat something else. But it's 2 eggs. So, and then sometimes I'll make 3 eggs, but then it's like that just throws off the whole count in the carton. So instead of the carton lasting for 6 days, it's now going to be way less. And I don't know. So I just feel weird about that. So I rarely eat more than 2 eggs, but I'm going to be more hungry than that. So I just am eating something else.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This vegan argument against pigs, that a pig, large picture, said that another vegan pig argument. I was told a pig is part dog, part rat, and part cat because some have whiskers. I've heard that before. I feel like that's in the Malcolm X movie that Denzel was in.
So I'm thinking this is starting to sound a little Hotep.
Yeah, I mean, before Hoteps were Hoteps, people had all these like, we weren't calling
Yeah.
them that, and people
Yeah.
had conspiracies about pigs.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, people did get what was it, like parasites and stuff from
Hmm.
uncooked pork. So, I mean, it is, it's not totally unfounded, but at the level that pork is kept now, like the animals, it's, it's safe. It's not like it once was.
Right.
So, yeah. And
Food,
now
food
they say
safety
you
has gotten a
can,
lot better.
yeah. And now they say you can cook pork to only 145 degrees and it's safe.
Mm.
Unless these are lighter people.
Right. Just random search, pork safe temperature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Healthline is saying 145 to 160, depending on the cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the USDA has revised it to 145. USDA is ran by lighter people, so I don't know.
So, yeah. Um I like it cooked more. I like it cooked more.
Yeah, I don't want pink in my pork. I think I probably am scared straight off of pink pork after that experience. It was so bad.
Well, you get sick once. I mean, it's natural that you're going to feel like that. And, truth be told, I had Campylobacter, I think is what it's
Mm.
called. And yeah, I was sick as a dog. And after that, it was like, okay, I don't need to mess around with raw food. That's just, that's just not going to work for me. And, but I got better. And, now I don't really want raw food. And in fact, I tend to like my food medium to medium well. So I don't even like steaks rare nowadays.
Mm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never had that issue with beef. So now I eat my steaks pretty damn rare.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I don't even know that it was beef, specifically that did it, or I mean, but at the time I was eating a couple of different things, so it was just like, I'm cooking everything.
Hmm.
And basically, I fasted through the entire thing. Went to the doctor, and she said, you can take antibiotics, but usually your body, is able to kick this on its own. And yeah, so basically, I just didn't eat for days, and that gave me a little more time to, not have to go to the bathroom, and I got
Right.
better. Yeah.
And it heals the I mean, it stops the thing that, like, while your body's screwed up, like giving it more food is just going to give you more ammunition to go to the bathroom and have a bad time with. So it just makes sense that you wouldn't want to eat during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't eat either. Like pretty much that whole weekend. I think I maybe drank stuff and a little bit of juice, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mr. Gavel, thank you so much for the super sticker. I hope you're enjoying tonight's show. And I hope everybody is enjoying tonight's show. Now, we have been having some epically long shows, and I understand that it's a little bit much. It's hard. We do give great info, and we are a lot of fun. I know I love hanging out with Arien, and I love hanging out with all of you. But I know it's hard to give me 2, 3, 4 hours of your time each week. I do, for those of you who hang in there, I do appreciate it, because without you, I'd be just sitting here talking to myself.
Please don't make A do that.
Yeah, please. So thank you so much. But I think we are going to try to keep it kind of short tonight, right? So we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. But I would love to know if there are any final questions from you guys. Any questions about the interview we had or about what we're going to do going forward. And I'm excited to show you the my soap making process. So I'm definitely going to put something up about that. Let's see.
Then with the with the red meat, and I just put a link to an article that I'm going to read at some point that sounds really interesting about pig, how we feed them, and our history with them. But so with the red meat, is it that, well, we know, so what does red meat have that other kinds of meat don't have, besides the lack of possible parasites?
Well, Diana was saying that red meat is the most nutrient dense, but different red meats have different nutrient profiles. So you get things from lamb that you don't get from beef. You get things from goat that you don't get from lamb, and so on. So it's good to, eat a bigger variety. But also, it's important to eat. I mean, she said she doesn't like organ meats and she doesn't really eat it, but the nutrients are also all over the body. So, you're going to get different things from eating muscle meat than you do from eating like liver or heart. So, eat your organs too.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was something else that I had posted today. So I had tried a seasoning mix by Eat Pluck that uses a blend of dehydrated organs as with some spices to make their spice mix. And it was actually pretty good. It was it had a sort of earthy, umami kind of flavor to it. It doesn't taste like liver or anything like that at all, but it does have like a kind of an earthiness to it. Now, since I only use salt, like even like a whiff, just a tiniest microscopic amount of spice now is like a huge flavor bomb on my tongue. So I had to use like the tiniest amount, and still it was like, oof, that's a lot of, onion and parsley and all of this other stuff. But yeah. Well, even still, I use the tiniest amount, but I could taste it all. But it was pretty good. I mean, it tasted good. If I were, still like a person, like I used to use Lowry's, the seasoning, like it tasted like that to me. It's just tastes like a standard mix with a slightly more depth to the taste of it, which I would attribute to the dehydrated organ meat. So, so maybe, I don't know if that's enough to like get all your stuff in, but it was interesting, and I would definitely, recommend that you give it a try. It doesn't have dextrose and all that other stuff, because that's the problem when you go to get those spice mixes. When you like start looking at the ingredients, it's got natural flavorings and dextrose and other things that end with the word "ose," which all mean sugar. So, and anti-caking agents and all this other stuff. So if you don't want all that,
I feel like trying this. A lot of times there's carnivore stuff that I see people making, and my thought is just like, oh, I'll try that, but like I don't really need it. And it doesn't feel like really novel. It's like, here's someone doing a thing that I feel like I might be able to do better myself. But this, like putting organ meat into a spice that already replaces salt and pepper, I feel like trying that.
Yeah. So, well, I don't think.
Oh God, they got a picture on their Instagram with a little girl looking like she's gonna eat like a whole beef tongue.
Oh yeah, I know. I thought it was a cute picture. That was why I had posted it, put it up before. So yeah, so definitely, try to eat a bunch of different things from the cow. It's a good idea to kind of try to get some variety if you
Hmm.
can. Yeah.
And some different animals sometimes. Like I keep saying I'm gonna do it, and I think this weekend is the time. Clear some space, and there's a place by me that I've talked about before that sells goat. I want some goat, and I know what I want this time. I want belly and back if I can get them.
Yeah. Hidayah says, no ma'am, not eating no half-cooked pork. Ever had undercooked, poorly prepared chitlins. So I
Ugh.
cannot imagine a worse thing to
Oh,
eat.
poorly
Undercooked,
prepared.
poorly prepared chitlins.
Poorly prepared sounds like a nice way of saying they didn't clean them right, and that's disgusting.
And didn't cook them enough. Yeah.
Oh, oh. Yeah, can't stomach organ meats. I can't blame you. It took me a while to get to like them. I will say that I still like some organ meats better than others. Like I don't like liver very much, but I will eat it sometimes. Liver pate is pretty good when I make that. But kidney, I'm good with. Me and kidney get along fine.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be that the thing that you've tried you don't like, or the organs that you've tried, or maybe the organs that you've tried
Mm-hmm.
from a specific animal. Like a lot of people think chicken liver tastes way better than beef liver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, chicken liver, I think it's milder. It's not
Hmm.
so strong in that liver flavor.
Right.
Um, and Hidayah says, I cannot stomach organ meats. I take the ancestral beef liver supplements 3 times a week. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
That
that's an
works.
option too. Um, so, Katura says, I like liver, but my family are grossed out by it. So I take those same supplements.
Man,
What I have done is grind up the liver and mix it in with ground beef and then eat it like that. And that is it's a pretty good hide. Like if you're trying to hide it, like if you mix it in with ground beef and put it in like lasagna or something, then you're totally, you're good. No one's going to taste that.
oh yeah, that makes sense. There's going to be all those spices anyway. But
Yeah.
why are you letting your family stop you from eating the thing that you like just because they're grossed out by it? They don't have to eat the liver. You can just make it for yourself. And that means, and you like liver. So that means you have more of it for yourself because no one's trying to fight you for it.
Yeah, but also not everyone wants to cook multiple meals. I'm sure she doesn't want to be a short order cook in her own home.
Is that multiple meals? It's just one other thing of meat. Like,
I think Katora doesn't she have like 5 or 6 kids? That's a
no,
lot.
no. But what I'm saying is if you cook them everything and then the pan is still hot, throw the liver in there.
Well, there you go.
But if it is multiple meals, if it is like too much hassle, then I completely understand.
Well, some of my friends who have young kids now are like constantly complaining about how nobody wants to eat the same thing and they're making food all the time and blah blah blah. And I'm kind of like, yeah, why are you indulging that?
Right. Like
I know
I
my
don't
my
that
grandparents
that's
are
not
like,
how my
this is
family
what you're
works.
eating. This is what you're eating. I don't want to hear anything about it. And you can
Right.
eat or you can have a spanking. Which would you like? So it's like, okay.
Right. Like I don't understand this life and I don't have kids. This is true. But I was once a kid who was raised by parents. And during those times, I didn't have a choice in anything. I had a choice of maybe what snack I was getting in between meals. But at meals, I ate what was cooked. Period.
Yeah.
No one asked me
Yeah.
if I wanted spaghetti or if I wanted fish or anything else. Nah. It was we're gonna
Yeah.
cook this. You're eating this.
Yeah.
I came downstairs to a surprise at dinner every day of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those were the times. Back, before the 80s happened, food it was definitely was a different thing. You didn't get what you liked. You ate
Right.
what you were given. If you didn't want it, you're welcome to go hungry.
And I didn't have that option. And I grew up after the 80s. I was born in 86. I'm really a 90s baby. But as
Uh-huh.
far as like when I was raised, and but I had some old school parents, and yeah, there were no choices. I didn't get to have a say in anything, and I wasn't allowed to. I was allowed to not finish a plate if I really, really didn't like the food, but I had to at least eat about like half or three quarters of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, well, vegetables was always the battle for me. I ate the meat willingly and it was all gone. But
Right. With
yeah.
spaghetti, like I would pick out the my parents would put like green peppers and onions and stuff in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd have a pile of those things on the side of the plate
Yeah.
because I did not like the taste of any of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Johnny G was scarred by the taste buds on the beef tongue, so that he was forced to eat. Now, I thought that when you cook it, you're supposed to cook it and peel off the outer edge and then eat the
Somebody
meat
didn't peel it.
inside. Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry, Johnny G.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah. It was literally rough.
Yeah.
Um yeah.
Ew. Big old
So
beef taste buds.
yeah. So Abigail loved beef tongue, sheep tongue, and grew up on those. Yeah. Yeah. So, and not all organs are, overwhelming. Like, for example, fat is an organ. And of course,
Right.
we love that. So, we are eating organ meat. So we shouldn't feel like so overwhelmed. Liver, of
Yeah.
course, is one. But heart is one that is, more mild. People seem to do pretty well with that and seem to be okay.
Hmm.
So, kidney is one that, for whatever reason, Arien loves.
Yeah.
And I guess in England, it's like a national dish. They eat kidney pie, right? So people,
Oh, really?
people do eat.
Yeah.
So people do eat, these organ meats in different parts of the world, and they're regular and commonly eaten.
Yeah. And
Bacon
don't
can be
forget.
made.
Go ahead.
No, bacon can be made from the belly, where there's a lot of fat, but also from the cheeks. So it's not uncommon to have bacon made of the jowl.
Hmm. Do you have to ask for that, or is that like just sometimes you'll have bacon that's from the jowl and it won't say?
I feel like I used to see that more commonly when I was young. I don't feel like I ever see it now. But if you go to a deli and you get Italian meats, I think guanciale is
Hmm.
is like it's beef cheek that has been cured and prepared like you might have pancetta or one of the other meats. And that, yeah, but that's made from the cheek.
Hmm. Okay, that's cool. I wish that was easier to find.
Yeah.
And then apparently, um, well, I guess I was going to say that eggs are an entire nose to tail meal every time, but they're apparently blocking iron, so there's also that.
And also, I really do like fish roe, salmon roe. That is also a very healthy thing to eat.
If I could find that more often, or just ever, I don't know where to buy it.
You don't go to Whole Foods to shop each week?
No, definitely not. I don't even know where the closest. I think like all the way like in the middle of Baltimore City, so like a good half hour from me, I could probably find one.
Yeah. Well, a bunch of us have been looking for beef bacon. Yeah, I would love that. I feel like when I was a kid, there was beef bacon was always on offer, and that was one of the things I did get a choice about. My grandmother would say, "Do you want beef bacon or pork bacon?" And I loved beef as a kid. So anytime I had an opportunity to eat beef, if I were asked what I wanted to eat, that was always what I wanted to eat. You never had to ask for, what I was going to eat, because that was always going to be my choice. So when I was offered beef or pork bacon, I was like, beef, of course. I mean, are you crazy? Yeah. So, and then when I would go to like Indian restaurants, I would get lamb, but, and it was good, but it was like, sorry you guys don't have beef, but the lamb's okay.
No. Oh,
Yeah.
meanwhile, I hadn't had beef bacon until literally like last year. Never had it before. Did not know it was a thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
can now there's in Maryland there's the Amish markets all around and they have beef bacon. So I can get beef bacon pretty much whenever I want. Um and lamb is like lamb is specialty food. Like beef is an everyday thing and lamb is like your Sunday dinner food.
Yeah, the lamb definitely feels like special. But there's other places in the world where that's just like normal. One of my friends
Yeah.
who is from Australia, like her, once a month or once every 2 months, her mom would go to a farm and outside in the outskirts of town and get a lamb, slaughtered. And well, I think she would just get the whole lamb and she would slaughter it herself in the kitchen and then,
Mm.
pack it up and everything. And I was like, when was this? Like 1790? Like what? But that was just what they did. So she always only ate lamb. And, it's like, wow, So she's like, oh, you guys beef, And I'm like, I know if I grew up in Australia, I'd be the same way. Like, lamb. Lamb is it.
Mm.
But my tongue got acclimated to beef. So Hidayah says, that's how I roll. I'm not about to be cooking stuff I know my babies won't eat. They get a say in what is prepared, so we don't fight as much. I do offer an alternative that the kids can do. Yeah, I mean, it's important, to have peace in the home. So if you can do that, I think, and it's not too much for you to have to make a bunch of alternatives, that's great. And so
Mm.
that's good. Beef bacon is awesome, but it's expensive. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was more expensive. I feel like it was comparable when I was a kid, but I don't know.
It's more expensive for me. I can get if it's off brand, like if it's like store brand, which in especially at somebody mentioned Aldi a second ago. Um, Monica did. Yeah. At
Mm-hmm.
Aldi, the store bacon is actually I feel like it's better than most
Mm-hmm.
bacon that you can get that's name brand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's like $4.55 a pound, but a lot of times bacon can go higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
And the beef bacon at the Amish market is somewhere like $9 a pound. So that's more expensive. But then name brand bacon, it's about the same price.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more expensive, but that's because I shop cheap.
Okay.
I want to keep my money in my pocket. And if all
Yeah.
the bacon tastes the same or about the same, then I'm going to buy the cheaper bacon.
Yeah. Mr. Gavel has just heard of beef bacon today.
See?
Yeah.
He didn't even know it
Yeah.
was a thing.
Yeah. And Johnny G says oysters they were widely eaten. And in fact, I think in New York, it was like super, super common to eat oysters because we have all of these rivers that converge right onto the sea. And so right in that area, there were tons of oysters that, people used to regularly harvest and people ate that here.
Mm.
Again, the water is so polluted now, and probably then, because that's where people dumped human waste and other stuff from factories and garbage. So, I don't know, but in any event, that was a very common thing to eat. And in fact, I think one of the areas where the rivers come together is called Oyster Bay.
Oh, I feel like I've heard of that before.
Mm-hmm. So, and then Monica says, I was surprised to see leg of lamb this in Aldi this week. Yeah. Lamb is
Which
becoming a little
means
more popular, I feel like.
it also means I need to make a trip to Aldi.
Yeah. But you have to be rich to eat only lamb. I agree. I agree.
Oh, to only eat lamb? Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
even like leg of lamb on sale is like, oh, the leg of lamb has now gone down to $10 a pound from like the $15 or $20 that it was at before.
It's still cheaper than eating fish, though.
depending on what fish you're buying, maybe you're paying more than $10 a pound for fish.
Oh yeah, nothing less. There's nothing that cheap in New York.
Ugh, Escape from New
Maybe
York.
tilapia or farmed like tilapia, but that's like not great food.
Oh yeah, I mean, so the same way there's all the conspiracies about pork, there's a ton of conspiracies about tilapia too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even think of tilapia when I think of buying fish. But yeah, I
Yeah.
can get salmon if I'm if I accept that I am getting farm raised fish, which I usually don't. Um, I can probably regularly get salmon for like $8 a pound
Yeah.
and catfish for cheaper than that.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I got to get
But
out of New York.
escape from New York, man. But if I want like wild caught stuff, it's gonna be higher,
Yeah.
which is why I don't buy fish most of the time.
Yeah. Wow, Monica's family is from Kentucky and grew up. The family grew up eating squirrel, groundhog, rabbit, and venison.
Mm. I'm good on squirrel, but groundhog might be good. I've had rabbit before, and would eat venison again.
Yeah. So Katura is looking for a recipe for, I think, lamb. So I encourage you all to help out and put up some recipes for lamb, either in the Facebook group or here. I don't really cook lamb that much, so I don't have any recipes that I've tried, but I should get on it.
When I cook lamb, I get regularly I get shoulder blade chops, which I cook just like steak, just like beef steak.
Uh huh.
Whatever oil I'm gonna use in the pan, get that hot, and just cook it on both sides as long as I want it to be cooked, like to the doneness that I want, and it's that simple. Leg of lamb, basically not the same thing, but like you cook it like any other roast. You don't need to slow and low cook it though. Lamb has enough fat in it. So
Yeah.
my my go-to is like all the spices that you used to put on jerky, like the rosemary and thyme and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are going on the lamb along with some
Yeah.
salt and just roast it for like a couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, really,
So for
really
our
good.
next cooking demonstration, we'll do one in February. Perhaps we should do leg of lamb.
That would be good. And by that point, like Monica was saying, normally lamb is only on sale around, I feel like it's like Christmas time and Easter. So it's early for it to be on sale now, but definitely by February, you should be seeing some. Or maybe,
Wait, when is
no.
Easter? Easter's in April.
So it'd be March that you would start seeing it. So maybe not February.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if New York has Aldi. My guess is no.
No. No. I know. I know. Get out of New York. Get out of New York. So, all right. Well, we have had a fantastic conversation. I hope that we have whetted your appetite for red meat and encouraged you to make sure to include it more often and think about different kinds of red meat. Doesn't have to be all cow. It can be other kinds. Yeah. So, enjoy. I wish you good health. And we will see you on Tuesday. So I'm going to be premiering an interview that I did with Monica, who is here on Tuesday. So I'm really excited to share her story and many more interesting stories to come. All right. All right, everybody. Yeah. All right. So we'll see you next time. Bye. Have a great week.
Bye.